ever since then, as a kid, I learned about Sai. Who is this guy with the big hair and this orange robe? And now, when I came into University of Florida, full-blown change. I really got to know the guy in Prasanthi Nilayam.
Who is Sai Baba?
He's my guidance. He tells me what to do. He gives me the power to get through all life's problems, and he's everything.
How? How does he give you the guidance and the power to get through some big challenges that everybody faces from time to time?
Oh, I just tap into my heart, and I hear his voice telling me, Josh, don't do this, don't do that. I've had a specific dream where I was in a situation, and I saw myself doing that dream, and I saw, I guess, maybe the consequences, or he just showed me what happened, and brought in, some ideas of having foresight and hindsight. He shows me on one side how am I going to be like, how am I going to feel, what I'm going to think, and on the other side, what is it like to think this way, that way, giving it to him, not feeling guilty about thoughts I have, but realizing also in the same time to make the corrections.
You've told me earlier that you've never been to India to see Sai Baba.
No, not yet.
But he visits you.
Yes.
All right. Tell me more.
Tell me more. Well, all I can say is, say for an example, I was working on an assignment, and I guess shortly after the assignment, I felt his presence. You could say he was almost right next to me, holding me close, and he gave me a kiss right on the cheek, just like I was a newborn baby. I don't feel like I'm the odd one out. I have a special, I guess I was given a gift, like some other people were, and I just feel like everyone else. I know about Sai, and well, life changes with that.
At age 21, only days away from turning 22, Florida resident Josh Rodkey is on a most amazing spiritual journey. His spiritual guide, his mentor, his teacher, visits him often, even though he lives 10,000 miles away. Welcome to Souljourns. This interview was recorded in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, in March 2011. Josh Rodkey?
Yes.
What a pleasure it is to get a chance to know you today.
Very much.
Right off the bat, you can't be over 45.
I don't look like it.
What are you, 22?
22 in June.
And I understand, I heard through the grapevine that you are not only a follower of Sri Satya Sai Baba, but that you have been your whole life?
Yes, very much. My mom took me into Sai when I was, say, 7 or 8 years old. And ever since then, as a kid, I learned about Sai. Who is this guy with the big hair and this orange robe? And now, when I came into University of Florida, full-blown change. I really got to know the guy in Prasanthi Nilayam.
For those who aren't initiated yet, let's say, or familiar, I normally reserve this question as my last question. I'll make it my second question. Who is Sai Baba?
He's my guidance. He tells me what to do. He gives me the power to get through all life's problems, and he's everything.
How? How does he give you the guidance and the power to get through some big challenges that everybody faces from time to time?
Oh, I just tap into my heart, and I hear his voice telling me, Josh, don't do this, don't do that. He's been visiting me many times, and I hear his voice, I feel his presence, and I change.
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate only because I love it when people come up to me and say, how do you know that's true? Well, how do you know he does that? You've told me earlier that you've never been to India to see Sai Baba.
No, not yet.
But he visits you.
Yes.
All right, tell me more.
Tell me more. Well, all I can say is, say for an example, I was working on an assignment, and I guess shortly after the assignment, I felt his presence. You could say he was almost right next to me, holding me close, and he gave me a kiss right on the cheek, just like I was a newborn baby. And then he told me some things such like, mind your mind, mind your mouth, and the way you talk affects the way you feel. And it was all in his voice.
Really?
Yes, yes.
I've done 100 interviews. I don't think I've quite heard stories such as yours before. This is wonderful. How old were you when he gave you this kiss on the cheek?
Oh, this was only about a month or so ago.
Really?
Yes.
So you're not kidding then, that since you've gone to school in Gainesville, it's opened up an even deeper dimension of Sai Baba in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when he talks to you, you actually hear his voice in his real voice?
I mean, I listen to many of his translations, you know, but I hear the translator's voice, but
yes,
in Baba's words, many times.
Does he ever give you guidance that's confusing to you, that you're not quite sure, what is that you mean, Baba?
Of course.
Do you talk to him?
Yes, I do talk to him. I mean, the power is always there. It's just like picking up the presidential red phone, a direct line.
Do you say occasionally, a little clarity, please, Baba?
A little clarity?
Clarification on this?
I will try that. I mean, now.
I mean, it might work if he sometimes gives you guidance that you don't quite get at first blush, because that can happen.
Yes.
So, an example or two of how he's intervened in your life in the last couple of years regarding an issue that's been bothering you, or regarding something maybe you wanted to do or achieve, and he's helped bring clarity to that. Maybe the specifics aren't fair to ask because that could be difficult.
Yes.
He's just there for you.
He's there. I mean, what I can say is that, you know, through talking to him many times, he's been telling me some words of wisdom. I've had a specific dream where I was in a situation and I saw myself doing that dream, and I saw, I guess, maybe the consequences, or he just showed me what happened and brought in, you know, some ideas of having foresight and hindsight, and just really, I could say, he directs traffic.
I love your manner of expressions, but I like what you had to say just a second ago about he shows you the consequences of what you're thinking about.
Yes. He shows me on one side how am I going to be like, how am I going to feel, what I'm going to think, and on the other side, what is it like to think this way, that way, giving it to him, not feeling guilty about thoughts I have, but realizing also in the same time to make the corrections.
Guilt can be a real big issue for a lot of people, especially those brought up in pretty strict religious backgrounds. I mean, I was brought up that way. Your mother's from Thailand.
Yes, she is.
You've been a Sai child since the age of 7. Is that a different way to grow up? I mean, you've never lived anything else, but did you have an organized religion that you were raised in? Did you have a structured faith that you used as a jumping off point to get to know Baba better?
Not that much. I mean, I went to church with my grandma. And
what
my
kind
mom.
of a church was that?
I think it was a Catholic.
Okay.
St. Mary's here in town. And I guess I went there a few times, and as you know, being a kid, I dozed off very, very easily, and I woke up not knowing what happened. And so really, I knew about God, but then here now, I see what he's really about.
You know a little bit more about God.
I knew a little bit more about God.
I saw you in action the other night. There's a program called A Course in Miracles. It's a book study circle, and lots of people have been going to them for 30 years, and you were invited by somebody you know who's talking into a microphone right now to come to the meeting the other night, and you came in and sat down among 25, mostly women, mostly in their 60s and 70s, and you just chipped right in, right off the start, with comments and with well thought out, reasoned perspective on some of the issues that are commonly discussed in this Course in Miracles group. Where do you get the courage, the chutzpah, to be able to do that at such a young age and be comfortable with yourself?
Knowing for yourself, you have the confidence, you have questions, many questions, and as long as you're enthusiastic, then you're not gonna stop until you get to where you want to know. I mean, it's the growth that happens.
Would it be safe to say that you're a student in the curriculum you're following in Gainesville there at the university, but that maybe you're a student to a larger extent in spiritual exploration? Why are you laughing?
Well, I find that funny because I would say yes, to a larger extent, spiritual exploration, even though I'm a student here, spirituality's right here, but I try to keep them balanced.
Do you find that you're the odd man out at, is it the University of Florida?
Mm-hmm.
When there's tens of thousands of students there who couldn't give their little fingernail of concern about who they are and why they're here and what life is all about?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I reading them wrong?
Well, I can't say, I don't feel like I'm the odd one out. I have a special, I guess I was given a gift, like some other people were, and, I just feel like everyone else, I know about Sai, and, well, life changes with that.
Why is it that you know about Sai and so many of your contemporaries know so little?
So little.
Do you think you earned that in a previous lifetime? Is this a gift? Is this grace? Is this...
Possibly. I mean, what I can say is that some evidence, my dad, my mom, my aunt, they've all had dreams of Sai. I mean, just that. I mean, to answer your question, really, quite possibly, yeah. I probably did have him in a previous life.
Yeah, because I wonder about that all the time. In fact, it's almost a cliche with me. I always ask people, why aren't more people aware of Sai Baba? Why are more people impressed by what's going on in the name of his definition of religion? There's only one religion, the religion of love. And I'm never able to come up with a satisfactory answer except the incorrect answer, that somehow we're special and we have something that other people don't. I know it's not that reason.
Of course not. I think, really, their time hasn't come yet, or you see Sai in different forms, being different gods, Buddha, Jesus, and the like. Maybe they see him, but not necessarily his form, his name.
Josh, we're sitting here on the pier in beautiful downtown Fort Walton Beach, Florida.
Yes, we are. Nice day.
Yeah, it's a nice day in March. Water temperature's warming up. Lots of tourists coming here. You're looking at your immediate surroundings because you're a young man from here, and yet you're looking at the bigger picture too. What do you plan to do when you're older and have as many degrees as you want to achieve?
Well, really, I was looking to graduate University of Florida, first off, earn that bachelor's degree in computer science engineering.
Is that day coming soon?
In about a year and a half.
That's not far off.
Yes, not far off at all. And then really, I have an internship with a local startup right now, and just seeing how that goes. And one thing I can say that Swami has told me in the work later, I was looking for, I guess, a career in game programming. What he has told me is that it depends on what you're developing. Is it educational? Is it something that might not be so helpful, to people? Something like that. And
sounds like he wants it to be useful.
Yes, very useful, and that's something he has told me, and I guess it's something that my mom told me as well.
So you're going to scrap the plans to go into game programming, it sounds like.
It might happen. I mean, I just don't know.
Yeah. But you never know how working on a game program with a startup could very well lead to something much, much more profound within that startup as it changes too, because all startups change direction eventually.
Of course.
And how wonderful it is that you have a tutor, a guide who's whispering into your ear, telling you what to do and what not to do. More about Sai youth. Are you going to school in a region where there's other Sai people in your age group?
Yes, there are some others that go to UF.
And do you ever get together and have satsang or bhajans or study circles?
Yes, at one point I did, but I guess Swami has put me in a point where, so let's say I'm the plant, and plant needs sunlight to grow. And so far, growing spiritually on the by myself has exposed me to the light, and I've seen a lot of growth the past few months.
And yourself?
Yes.
And why do you think now? I mean, why not when you were 18 or 14? Why 22?
Well, maybe I think this is the right time for me to be exposed to these things. These little things I need to, newsflash, kind of. It's the right age to grow.
And what's your mom hope for you? She must be pretty excited that you're following your heart and following your dream and following Baba's guidance as well.
Very happy. She tells me she loves me all the time. After coming back from Sai Center in Pace, Florida, we would have long talks, and she would enjoy them very much.
So, if you were in my position to ask the questions, what would you ask of a 22-year-old on a profound career path, but an even more profound spiritual path? Or you just out there, what concerns do you think others would like to know about the life of a 22-year-old spiritual seeker? I don't think I've ever asked that question.
No,
before.
this is a good, very good question. It makes me kind of think.
Because there's this notion, if you're over 50, heck, if you're over 40, it's easy to have stereotype views of people in their teens and early 20s today, that they're self-centered more than they are centered on the needs of humankind. And yet I know that that's not true with Sai youth I get a chance to meet from time to time. Do you meet other people who aren't even aware of Baba, who are acting as if they're his followers because it's clear to you that they're acting from the heart most of the time?
Yes, I do. I met a guy. He said he's more or less spiritual, but he focuses on, I guess, he's in touch with the earth, the nature itself, you could say. You know how the fish swim, or how the trees wave in the air, a lot like that. To answer your last question, I guess what would it be like, for, I guess, 22-year-old Sai devotee? How can Sai change your life, and how can you, I guess, live your life more peacefully, more happily, and really, I guess, be independent away from anything external influences that might be negative, that might influence you?
One of the main tenets of Sai followers and Sai's teachings, and one of the main principles of this book we referred to already, A Course in Miracles, which came into being in the mid-60s, late 60s. And by the way, Sai Baba told me himself to my face twice that he's the author of that book.
And you told me that too after the meeting.
I don't tell too many people that, but here I am blabbing it into the microphone here. Must be a point to it. The point is, both his path and the Course in Miracles, which he says is his path, places enormous emphasis on turning to spirit, on turning to God in your mind's eye, on turning to Baba, and to ask for guidance continually. You've got that in spades at 22. It's taken me 50 years to even know that, and another 10 years to practice it. That's great that you have this. I mean, I'm not quite sure of all the secrets in life if there's any greater for you to know than that.
I think right now is a very good time, to set ideas, in concrete, make sure they're stable, for life ahead. Sometimes I feel very lucky that he's come to me at this age.
Do you actively turn to him for advice, or do you simply wait for his call, for his nudging? In other words, let's say you've got a big decision tonight, or for the next weekend. Do you ever think about turning to him? Baba, advise me, which path should I take? Which decision should I make here?
Well, for tough conflicts, situations, stuff like that, I always turn to him. And, sometimes I get a clear answer, sometimes I don't. But
there's this woman I've interviewed 3 times in my hometown of Canton. Her name is Seema Dewan. Significant Sai Baba follower. She tells us that she turns to Baba, if I remember correctly, for everything. Baba, should I vacuum the 2nd floor now? Baba, should I take Main Street to take my kids to school this morning, or should I take Fulton? And it kind of sounds like it could be not just tedious, but silly. But it's her way of training herself to turn towards the light, to God, to Swami, for everything in her life. And she says it just becomes second nature to her. It sounds like you're real close to being there.
Yes. What I was thinking the other day, my mom had an avocado plant, and with the weather being really cold but really warm in the day, the plants need light. So what I did, I just opened the door, took the plant out, put it outside in the sun, and there you go.
Flourish.
What's the big worry or concern for a 22-year-old today about life? I mean, we've got enormous things going on in this country and abroad. Anything that disturbs you more than something else?
Yeah, I would have to say, really the culture. I mean, some of the culture we're exposed to, some of the things that might derail us from what we really, the path that we need to really be on. Also things, I mean, it's hard to say if it's the people that also do it, but I mean, I guess really trying to train yourself to be independent and thinking for yourself on your toes, you know, along with asking Baba for his help too with them.
There's a school of thought that the words, excuse my French here, but is on its way to going to Hades in a handbag, and that the Sai youth of the world are being not only empowered but really guided to know how to be in profound leadership positions in the years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Do you relate to that at all? You might be one of the leaders.
Leaders.
Decades to come.
Decades to come. Well, I will say that I will be a leader one day. One day.
You know that.
Yes, always. I mean, you know, it might not be the right now. It might not be the right age. It might not be the right.
Sure, I understand
time's not
that.
right. I mean, but eventually, I will become a leader.
And if somebody's seeing you right now in this interview, and believe me, because they're seen around the globe pretty much now, including by not just Sai devotees, but people totally new to them. They Google this, and they might be Googling Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and up pops Josh talking about Sai Baba. What can you say to them about, they're hearing your message, they're intrigued by what you have to say, they're impressed with your life, and they want to sample that? What would you say to them to get them in the right direction, if that's what they truly wanted?
If they would truly want that, I would have to say, you know, aside from the internet and everything, follow your heart, listen to your conscience. Sai is there. He's definitely there. No other power is greater than that. And, you know, you start living his principles and the teachings and everything.
Now, you've told us about how he's been appearing to you, coming to you. You've felt his kiss on the cheek. You've heard his direction and guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you've never been to India. Have you ever seen him in human form? Has he ever appeared to you?
Well, no. I mean, you know, like the story I was telling you with the kiss.
Sounds like a tentative no.
He was. I felt him as if he was right here, holding me next to his side. You know, it was almost as if he was there. I could practically hear his voice pretty clearly, and yet I have not been to India at all, and maintain a very strong.
And a real stupid question. Would that alarm you at all, to have his presence be so obvious and so close to you?
Of course not. If anything, it makes me happy, very, very happy that he's looking out after me. You know, despite, you know, the things that come, you know, he just tells me, do this, do that. And he...
is there a Sai organization in such a way at the University of Florida where young people are able to meet informally? I know a lot of young people are into singing bhajans, devotional hymns, devotional songs to Sai Baba. I know some places they do heavy emphasis on study circles. Any of that going on there?
Yes, there is. Of course there is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't know because I haven't been back to a college campus for a while. And,
Yeah.
And if there's one thing that I'm advised to do or requested to do more often is to sit down just like we are and talking to Sai youth. And I'm told that they see the world a little bit differently. How differently do you see the world today?
Differently? Well, really, I see, you know, people, I guess, misinterpreting what should be, you know, unhappy or sorrow as being happy. I guess you could say, I mean, to put it in words, it's quite difficult, but they laugh where they should be, you know, be sad or be crying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I would say,
it's easy to make light of difficult times.
Light of it.
And it's easy to be cynical about things that you can't relate to.
Yes,
I think, too.
exactly. I think that, you know, being cynical when at times would not be appropriate, or not thinking the right thoughts, or opening your mouth.
Josh, none of us gets through life or goes through life, even in our teens and 20s, without being scathed from time to time. How do you cope with it?
Cope with it. Well, Ty goes in, and then Ty goes out, and here I'm there. I'm there. Now I gotta rebuild myself. So what I do, I focus on Swami, what he has to say. He has all the compassion in the world.
And he has got a phrase for that too. Passing clouds, passing clouds.
Passing clouds, passing clouds. I could say just listening to him and trying to learn what he's trying to show me, because I guess in everything he shows you there's a lesson, no matter how small. I also say he's definitely made some touchdowns in my life to point me where to go to.
Is it the same story with other young Sai people you know? Do you share stories from time to time, or do you even share the fact that you're guided personally by Swami from time to time?
Not usually. I mean, it's something that usually I don't speak about. I mean, unless someone asks me,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really curious, then I say something. But they're quite personal, and
well, you're talking to a lot of people right now.
Yes, I am.
So everybody knows this now. And I suspect there will be more than a few people who wouldn't mind getting in touch with you too. And I'll direct them to you when they write in and they see the interview on Souljourns. Let me see. How should I go about wrapping this up, or do you want to guide me in a direction of something that's on your heart that you would still like to say that I haven't thought of asking you yet?
Well, it's open for anything. not a thought in my mind right now.
All right, what's the most important reason why Josh is here today? Is it to get rich and be happy and stay in 4-star hotels, which anybody
Of course,
would love to do?
yes. Actually, I think really it's about opening myself up more, opening my heart more, and really noticing when there's going to be some big changes happening pretty soon, or if they're already
I'll
here.
swallow that. What big changes?
Well, it changes my character, changing how I do things, how I think through things,
Mm-hmm.
changing how I see things.
And you're getting such an early head start on this in your young 20s, and you're aware of this already. Look down the road. Let's say you're going to live into your 90, which is probably premature, because 22-year-olds today will even live longer than that. Is there a limit to what you're going to be capable of learning about your own self and your own spiritual growth, or is it sort of like a chamber that has no bottom to it? It's limitless.
Limitless, absolutely.
And do you only learn if you're motivated and dedicated to walking that path, or does it come whether you're ready for it or not?
I think it comes when you're ready for it or not. The lesson will come, but it's up to you to really learn what he's trying to teach you, to actually incorporate it into your life and really put it to use.
Mm-hmm. And Sai Baba's 85. His health is questionable. His physical form. I should emphasize it, just his physical form. Do you have any thoughts about one day going to see him in the flesh in Puttaparthi? Or is that something that doesn't make much of a difference to you these days? Because you seem to have him already.
It wouldn't make much of a difference, really. I mean, if he's talking to me right now, then that's great. If I see him, that's awesome too. As long as I have a connection with him and I'm able to pick up the phone when I need to, dial his number, then that's all that matters. Really.
Let me ask you this question I asked earlier one last time, because sometimes it evokes even a slightly different response. For those who are seeing this for the first time and never heard his name before, who is Sai Baba?
He's God. That's what he is. Pure bliss. He is the sweet lemonade you drink after a long, hard day, hot, sunny day. He refreshes you. Your closest friend.
And you're not very worried, I can tell, about young people or old people who might come from a more locked-in, let's just say, gently conservative background, who would see what you just said, that he's God, perhaps as blasphemy. That doesn't seem to bother you.
No. Of course not. Makes me.
And is that an element of faith, an element of conviction, or an element of, I'm Josh, and I know what I'm saying?
All three. I already know he's there. I have faith in him. I've seen what he's done. I mean, personal experiences, and the dots line up. Everything makes sense.
Now, Josh, I've asked you about your future, but it's multidimensional, isn't it? You don't want it to be just a career where you work in the field of technology.
Yes. My dreams, first off, graduate from UF with a computer science engineering degree, and then next, one day become a spiritual teacher and help others to learn and grow.
Now, where did you get that idea to become a spiritual teacher one day?
Well, I remember when I was having satsangs at the Sai Center, we would have an elder. He would help us go through Swami's discourses, how it relates to him, his stories, and, just break it down where it'd be easier for us to digest and to learn from it and grow from it.
And the final question, for anybody who would like to take that active step to pursue more about who this person is, who this figure, Sai Baba, is, where would you guide them? You're the one guiding them now. With a book, on the internet, to a person, to a group, how would you guide them to find more? Is there a book that touched you the most? Is there something else that's...
Yes, I'd guide them to read the Atma Press.
The Atma Press.
Atma Press, composed by Drucker. That's, a lot of his teachings, they're seen in many parallels on other, I guess you could say, religions or, paths of spirituality. And
you're pretty impressed with that
was
book
it. Yes,
and with Al Drucker.
Yes, yes.
And you just came from helping Al Drucker move from a place here in Florida yesterday in March of 2011.
Yes.
He's quite a teacher.
Quite a teacher. He and his wife, Andy Drucker, profound teachers there. Complete opposites, North Pole, South Pole of their views, but they both,
And where are you, the equator?
I'm neutral.
Not for long, Josh.
Not for long.
Thanks again. This has been a real pleasure on my part. I'm glad we stumbled upon each other. Quite literally, it's another story for another day, but I'm really grateful it happened, and my guess is it didn't happen as a coincidence.
It's been spectacular, Ted.
Thanks, Josh. Sai
Bye.